My name's Christina, and this is Nikki, and I just wanted to thank you all for coming and coming here and listening to Kevin's story. Personally, I just believe that sharing your own truth and being vulnerable and sharing your story is such a strength. And by giving people your strength, other people can heal through your story, and also you heal yourself. So thank you for doing that. Can we get another round of applause for Kevin?
So we're going to move on to the Q&A, or the moderated Q&A session. We got these questions from our official Facebook and Instagram pages. So on Facebook we can be found under Cultural Events Board, and on Instagram we can be found under CU Boulder CEB.
So Kevin, speaking of sharing your story and being vulnerable, when you first started out, was it really difficult to first relive and also tell your story to others?
It was. I wasn't going to tell my story to anyone. In the first psych ward I was in, a Franciscan friar named Brother George Cherry, he would always look at the chart every time he entered the room, so he knows what the person's been through. And he, in 30 years, had never walked into a room without looking at a chart. And he didn't look at my chart. And he walks in, and he goes, "Hey kid, what are you in for?" And I was putting on my back brace and holding my cane. And I said, "Brother, I jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge." He said, "Oh yeah?" And I'm the Pope. He didn't believe me. I said, "No, brother, that's what happened. That's why the back brace, that's why the cane." He goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Kevin. I feel so silly. Let's pray." And he comes over to my left side, puts his hand on my forehead and one hand on the rosary, and in his black robe, his white robe, and his white hair like St. Francis with no birds, he starts praying with me. And at the end of the prayer, he said, "Kevin, when you get better, you ought to talk about this." And I looked at him and I said, "About what to who?" I had no idea what he meant. He meant there's great power in the spoken word, but I couldn't see it. Every day, Brother George Cherry would say the same thing at the end of his prayer. "Kevin, when you get better, you ought to talk about this." On the last day of my stay at the psych ward, he said, "Kevin, I expect you're going to talk about this," and I ignored him. I thought, "Okay, buddy, good luck with that." And my father took me very soon thereafter, I think one of the next Sundays, to church, the church I had grown up in as a kid, to see Father Harriman give a sermon. And Father Harriman's now Monsignor, and he would marry Margaret and I. But anyway, before that, he would confirm me as a kid. So I'd known him for 20 years. And I go to the church, and I hobble in up the stairs. My dad helps me up the stairs with my back brace and my cane. And I come out, and Monsignor Harriman comes up to me and says, "Kevin, how would you like to come and tell your story to our 7th and 8th grade class about your experience this Good Friday?" Which wasn't 7 months after my attempt. I said, "Father, I don't have a speech and I wouldn't know what to say." And that's when my dad shoved me forward. He said, "He'll do it." I looked at my dad, like, "What are you doing?" He said, "We need closure." I said, "You need closure, I need to go home and lay down." He said, "You'll do it." When my dad says something twice, you do it. So I go to church, it's the rectory, and the kids are all there, 120 kids, sitting cross-legged on the floor in their Catholic uniforms, the same uniform I used to wear. And I'm freaking out. And I stood there holding my cane in my right hand, keeping me stable and standing, reading page by page to the floor in my left hand, reading it from the page. I dropped the last page and I thought to myself, who is this helping? What am I doing here? And then all these kids raised their hands, asking these wonderful, inquisitive, intelligent questions. Except for one was really goofy and inappropriate, but anyway. And I didn't learn that I made an impact there that day, but my senior called me back to the rectory 2 weeks later, which I walked to the rectory in my back brace and my cane. My dad was at work, which was tough. Sweating like a madman. I get to the rectory, Father hands me a manila envelope. Inside it is a folder the kids had painted with Jesus on it. And inside that folder is 120 letters from 120 kids. Now I know they were mandated to write those letters, much as 7th and 8th grade kids didn't go, let's go all right to the suicidal guys simultaneously. But nonetheless, there were several of those letters that were from actively suicidal minors. And because they were minors, the letters were screened by their teachers before they got to me. And because the letters were screened by the teachers before they got to me, they were given the mental health care they deserved and needed. And they're alive today. And when my father found this out, he read those same letters. He said, Kevin, we have to do this however, wherever, and whenever possible. And we never stopped.
how would you recommend others share their stories of their journey with their mental health or mental illnesses?
I think it differs on every person. You have to look at your surroundings. You have to be, if you want to tell your story and you want your story to help people, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. And really you have to remember that in your vulnerability, you're making vulnerable the people that love you. I mean, that's a fact. Like some of my family weren't happy with me telling my story at all. They were very unhappy with it, and very vocally unhappy with it, because it shined a light on them they didn't like. You know, let me be very specific. My grandmother, may she rest in peace, Catherine Paul, beautiful woman, wonderful human being, tough lady from Brooklyn. She hated that I told my story. Hated it. Would always call me when I would do a news program and say I was vying for attention. I didn't want attention. I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people since I was a kid. 4 years old, I tried to mow my neighbor's lawn with his John Deere lawnmower. He said, "Wait till you're older." Anyway, so my grandmother for years literally hated that I did this because she thought it was a black mark on the family. She used to be a nun, by the way. So she thought it was a black mark on the family until and when my grandmother, and she never understood mental illness or why anybody would be suicidal, until she had 7 mini strokes, lost her cognitive function, and became drastically suicidal in the hospital. And we go to see her in the hospital as an adult, and she asked everyone to leave, her kids, to get out of the room. And she asked me to lean in, I leaned in. And she audibly and understandably says in broken English, because she could barely speak, "I know exactly how you felt when you jumped. All I want to do is die." Well, my mom would work with her, and my mom's a nurse. My mom would get her back to fighting shape, and she would live out her life, able to speak, able to move. She died walking around with a walker, but she was mobile, and she was keen and sharp. And my mom worked with her for months to stabilize her stroke issues and got her back to functioning pretty darn well. The only thing she couldn't really do was write anymore, and see very well. But she lived a long and beautiful life, and at the end of her life, she was very happy with the way things turned out, and she was very grateful that I do this work, and it was this full circle. We all came on together.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. I was just wondering, since you talk awfully a lot about mental illness, how do you help someone who's struggling with mental illness but they aren't reaching out? What is the healthiest way to be there for that person, not only for you but for them?
Well, one thing you have to do is recognize internally how much pressure you can deal with, how much stress you can deal with, because this stuff is heavy, you know. And I think recognizing and being self-aware, if you're going to help someone mentally struggling, is the first key. Self-care is the best care. That said, if there's someone who is in denial of what they're going through and they're not talking about the pain they're in, and they don't believe they have mental illness, or they're believing that you're overreacting, one of the things you can do is just, look, it's not about often what we say or how we say it. It's about how much we're going to listen to what they're going through. What is the one thing we tell everyone when someone says to us, "How are you today?"
Fine.
Good, fine, okay. And some of you are having the day of your life, but you're lying about it because you don't want to be a burden to other people. You're lying about the pain you're in because you feel like somebody won't listen or understand. And here's the thing about the people who ask that question: "Are you okay? How's your day going?" Oftentimes those people are in such a rush in their daily activities that they don't really care to hear the true answer. So A, we, the suicidal and those in pain, need to tell the truth every time someone asks us that question. But if you're going to ask that question, you better be ready to sit down and hear the answer and take the time it takes to get through that answer. And if that answer is terrifying, all the more reason you sit by their side, put your arm around them and say, "I got your back, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to check my watch. I'm going to look you directly into your eyes with empathy in mind. I'm going to show you that I love you and care about you. I'm going to be here for you." And I said this in a crisis text line, Palooza, their big conference last year. And I got an email from a young lady who was at that conference as a crisis text counselor. And she comes home one day, because my message was to always look at someone in potentially lethal emotional pain, someone in that pain, and always ask them if they're okay. No matter if you know them from Adam or don't, or even if you fear it for yourself. Ask them if you're okay, because that could be the moment that changed their life forever. Let me be very specific. This young lady is coming home from her job, as a crisis text line counselor. And there's this young 20-some-year-old man sitting on the bus stop, crying his eyes out profusely. And she walks in her house, puts her groceries away that she bought after her work day, and I'm not going to go out there, I don't, I'll be nervous. And then she remembered what I said in the speech, and she goes, no, Kevin said to go out there, so I'm going to go out there. So she goes out, and she sits next to this young man, and she puts her arm around his shoulder, and she goes, hey buddy, you're breaking my heart, what's going on? A very calm and empathetic way to engage in that kind of conversation. And he looks at her and he goes, why do you care? And she goes, because I'm human. And you are too. And you look like you're in pain. What's going on? He said, my fiance just left me for another man. And I am broken and I'm suicidal. And she sat with him until the moment had passed for him, and he said he was going to be safe. And who knows what happened after that, but she did the right thing, We have to be our brothers and sisters' keepers, no matter who that brother or sister is who's in that pain. Because if we don't, who will?
So we're going to go to the other side. So friends and family are usually the first ones to see the first signs of declining mental health. So this person wants to know, what should they look for and how should they ask their family member or friend about their mental health?
Absolutely. So look for, I want to be frank about something really quick. A lot of times we're hearing from people these days that they're not showing any signs. We're not seeing any signs of suicidal crisis, that they're actually putting on a show of bravado, or that they're fine, or that they're great, or that they're stellar. And I hear often in this culture today, we never saw it coming. So I want to recognize that, first of all. But if you see somebody, and you have the smallest inclination that they are suicidal or have been, you must ask the direct questions. Are you suicidal? And do you have a plan to take your life, or have you ever made one? And before you do that, you want to engage them and say, look, I've known you for a long time. Or if you love the person that you're family member, listen, I'm really worried about you. You might not see it, but you're acting irrational, unwell, and you seem very irritated, and you seem like you're in a lot of pain. I'm very worried about you. I'm very worried about you. I love you so much. I need to ask you a direct question, and I need you to be honest with me. Have you ever considered suicide? Have you ever made a plan to take your life? By saying, have you ever, you're giving them the opportunity to you're giving them permission to talk about their pain, past or present tense. If you say, have you ever, you're not assuming that they did it. You're giving them that leeway to say, as a matter of fact, a year ago I did, or a matter of fact, I'm thinking about it right now.